You ready? Hello, we are here at Ashburn Station, which is the closest metro to our house and the last stop outside of DC. Nate here is my roommate, and the other day, about a month ago, he came up to me and asked, "Hey, you think I could join you on your spring break trip?" Naturally, I thought about it, I crunched the numbers, and I woke up the next morning, I said, "You know what, Nate? I think this could work." Gave me his credit card, passport information, still have it. Now we're going to Japan.
Today, the spring is finally breaking through. The birds are chirping. Not here, this is the metro station. Generally, they're chirping, and it is like 60 degrees with a light wind. This is the bliss of heaven right here, man. I hope that where we're going, it's going to be at least something like this.
We're about to go on a really long flight, so I thought I'd come stop here at the lounge for a pick-me-up. They have a lot of my favorite dishes here. Today we're doing tandoori chicken, a coconut tahini yogurt, and this lovely it's honey kombucha mixed with coconut milk and pineapple juice. We have arrived to Canada. Bienvenue à Montréal. We're gonna spend one night here. He's gonna get to see Canada for the first time, French Canada at that, the superior Canada.
Tomorrow's the real knockdown drag out.
Yeah.
I mean, today we basically got up in the air and then they were like, we're descending.
Your first time in Canada?
Well, it's a little bit snowier than where we took off from, and this just seems to be a pretty normal neighborhood. But it is weird hearing people talk French on the American continent. That seems, I don't know, a little bit like sacrilege, but
Easy now, easy now.
no, in all seriousness, I think French is very beautiful. I remember the first time I heard French when I had a layover in Paris, and I was just mesmerized by it. Really beautiful language. Although I have noticed, I mean, don't have a ton of experience with it, but they do seem to sound a little bit different.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Actually, Quebecois French differentiates quite a lot from the original French. It comes from Acadian French, which was spoken around the 1800s. The Quebecois language is actually quite distinct. I was here in Quebec last autumn. So beautiful with the deciduous trees.
So, TJ, how does it feel speaking Quebec French versus speaking French French?
So Quebec French, they have a lot of different vowels. So instead of bon matin, or un journée. We have just arrived in Hong Kong. Finally, after 14 rather quick hours, we are here.
TJ called the hours rather quick because he slept a lot more than I did.
That's what you're supposed to do to pass the time. You're gonna go through immigration, go to the city, get a little bite to eat, walk around, and then get ready for tomorrow when the real exploration begins. Now, even though Hong Kong is part of China, it falls under the two-system, one-country policy, which means that it has its own immigration system especially. We're going to Hong Kong, which is visa-free for Americans and a good amount of countries, and is also, for the citizens, one of the strongest passports you could have.
Welcome home, everyone. So we've got the bedroom in this wonderful suite, and if you take a quick little right here, you will also see the bathroom, and that completes this tour. I hope you enjoyed.
Victoria Harbor has been on my bucket list for quite some time, and I'm so glad to finally see this with my own eyes. goes through your mind seeing this for the first time? Big city.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd seen big cities before, but this is a league entirely on its own. It's hard to capture this scene right here in a video or in a picture, which is the really sad part. So you're just gonna have to come see it for yourself, I guess. Wow.
That right there is a junk boat. Those are quite rare nowadays. There's only, I think, 1 or 2 left in existence on the Victoria Harbor. They used to transfer passengers, people, goods across the way until, of course, they built a metro that goes under and lots of other more modern ferries. It's such an iconic look to the city, and I'm really glad I got that shot with the fog and everything. That's the money shot. But man, it's so easy to see when you look around that the city is teeming with life, just as it used to. It is a bustling city and continues to be so.
TJ, tell me a little bit about traditional Chinese cuisine.
I'm glad you asked, Mr. Nate. This here says taste the traditional, so clearly it is an authoritative source on traditional Chinese cuisine. What caught my eye here was the pineapple buns. We have Sichuan hot pot here. We have fried rice, which is more westernized. Cantonese cuisine is also what a lot of people in America are accustomed to. I think the sweet and spicy or sweet and sour ribs, that stuff tends to be from Canton because those are the people that tend to populate Chinatowns and little ethnic enclaves all over the world. Good morning from Xianggang, the fragrant harbor. We somehow woke up at like 7:45, super rested. Yeah. I think we're gonna have to pay for that later on today. But we're gonna go to breakfast. We're gonna go to a Hong Kong style cafe. Then we're gonna go to the Hong Kong National Museum to understand more about what's going on here, what has been going on here for the last few hundred years. Then we're gonna go to a bookstore that I found that looks really nice. I was wondering what on earth they're in line for, what possibly could be garnering this kind of attention. Coffee. Makes sense.
That line is like all the way to the end of the block for coffee. Now that bamboo scaffolding is like the most Asian thing I've seen so far.
So we're about to enter Kowloon Park, and this is actually where they used to have those horrible, densely populated mansions. I believe there were upwards of 50 to 80,000 people living in this one city block. Let's see here. This is the floor plan of the park. They demolished it, I believe, in the 80s or 90s.
So if you've ever seen like the movie Ready Player One, look up a picture of what this place used to look like, and that was pretty much it. Like 1 square foot per person, the most dystopian thing you've ever seen in real life. But the amazing thing is, look at it now. It's like a rainforest jungle, so beautiful. I mean, honestly, this is just one of those moments that makes you have hope in humanity.
That's really popular here in Kowloon Park, or any park really, is Tai Chi. This is something that a lot of people in East Asia will do to try to alleviate their organs or stretch them or give themselves a bit more breath at the beginning of the day. I notice a lot of people here in China and Hong Kong do it, and it's something that is actually gaining popularity over in the West as well. I see a lot of adults do this stuff in the park, especially in Central Park. Here's a pork bun. We have our pineapple bread, juicy, fat, oily, all the things that will make you live till you're 49. But now with breakfast out of the way, it's time to go to the Museum of Natural History here, which is across this land bridge. We have made it to the Hong Kong Museum of Natural History. This is the main exhibition here, starting with actually California. I think we're going backwards through it, but it doesn't really matter to me. We're here in the Chinatown room. This is all about Hong Kong immigration to Chinatown. And if you've ever been to Tongrenjie in San Francisco or Los Angeles, you'd know that it's mostly populated by Cantonese folk and everything is written in traditional Chinese. We just got out of the museum. How did you like it?
I thought that was an excellent museum. It focused on immigration to the United States, California particularly, with Hong Kong, talking about how Hong Kong really functioned as a go-between. And then we also stumbled into the national defense exhibit that they had for China at large, not just Hong Kong. And they didn't really want us there, did they, TJ?
No. There were about 3 or 4 people that were really trying to coerce us to go back to the Hong Kong area. We weren't interested, but we obliged.
What happened, I didn't notice this until we got out, was that we weren't allowed to go through the front. And we just, being unfamiliar with the area, wandered in through the back.
And now we're gonna head over to K11, which is a very nice mall. We're gonna check out Hong Kong cinema, or well, at least Mandarin cinema.
Yeah, I swear this whole place is made up. It's fictional.
We've made it here to K11, which is an artisan mall here in Hong Kong. This is where you go to get all your luxury brands, your delicious food. Word on the street is they have a food court as well, which is why we're here, and also to watch some cinema. This is one of those moments when technology just doesn't do it quite yet. Maybe later when I'm 50 years old, maybe when dogs can speak, but right now it smells so good in here. We're gonna grab some dim sum, I'm thinking. There are so many options here, and this part of Asia specifically is a sensory overload, especially the smells, the color. If you look at the menus, there's just colors powing at your face, and it's hard to decide really where to eat. The good news is we can't go wrong with whatever we choose. But I think we're gonna go with dim sum because we're in Hong Kong. We haven't had dim sum yet. What are we doing? So we have our first dim sum. Here we have pork pot stickers, and then we have the classic dim sum.
First time trying it. Let's give this a shot if I can get a handle on it. All right, here we go.
Bro.
Yeah, we decided to go to part 2 of lunch because we're just like that. The dumplings were amazing, but I needed a little bit of protein to kind of get me through sitting through a movie. You know, you got to have a little bit of substance to be able to do something taxing like that. And so we got us a little bit of steak here, some ribeye, and just some broccoli and rice on the side.
听着，对啊，去哪儿啊？你滚过来！知道了，过来。中医讲望闻问切，望观气色闻，听声息，问寻症状切，摸脉象，探也无外乎就这4个字，让我们先。
So we just got out of our film. It was called Chinatown Detectives 1900. And oddly, it was the exact same topic we were looking at in the museum just now. It was in Mandarin, most of it. It's funny because the actors, half of them were American, not even half, maybe 10%, and then the other chunk were either Eastern Europeans or they had some African dude play the African American dude. It was mostly discussing the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882 and also the looming revolution that was coming to mainland. Something I like to do everywhere I travel, and probably a little too much, is go to bookstores. And here's a good example of a Cantonese book. It's a side-scrolling Cantonese book. browsing and perusing for hours, and I ended up finding Yuhua's Hoje, which is to live in English. It's a story of a family that lives through the early communism years in China. We watched the movie in my China class. My professor will be really happy to see this. That pretty much wraps up our first day here in Hong Kong, of course, after the food. And tomorrow we'll be going to a local church here. We'll be seeing the Hong Kong Island side, Victoria Peak. Hopefully it's not too foggy. And then, of course, we'll be getting ready for Japan, which is right around the corner, and I cannot wait. Good morning from these same streets here in Hong Kong. We're about to go to church at St. Andrew's over here, which is the oldest Anglican church in Kowloon. But first, we are going to eat at one of the local Hong Kong style cafes.
Welcome to an authentic Hong Kong style breakfast. Ramen noodles with beef, piping hot. Let's give it a shot.
We got ourselves this beautiful bowl of beef satay. I'm gonna go in for the ramen, which is, you know, everyone's had ramen. If you haven't, go get some. Sort of slithered down my throat. And the beef is lovely, very soft, breaks up in your mouth, almost like it melts. And that is a very well done beef satay ramen.
Welcome to St. Andrew's Anglican Church. Isn't it the largest church in this district, TJ?
Oldest.
Oldest church in this district. We're here at the English language service this morning, but they do offer a Chinese language service.
Don't know what kind of week you've had, whether it's been a great one or whether it's been one of the worst ones of your life. But one thing we do know is that when we come together as a community, we can praise God together because we're assured of the hope that He has given us through the death and resurrection of His Son, Jesus Christ. Oh, Lord of my heart, all else but Lord to me, save that thou art.
For those maybe who are visiting, you don't know the Lord Jesus, our prayer is that as you gather in this service of worship this morning, that you would catch a glimpse of this great and wonderful God, the one who is mighty, the one who is good, the one who pours out his life and his love upon his creation.
So, Lord, would you convict us, help us not to walk away from your word and move on to the next thing that grabs our attention. Convict us, guide us, help us as a community of people to talk about these things, and help us always to remind ourselves that in you is everything. You supply our every need.
So I just finished up church here. It was a beautiful service. We were doing a lot of Luke 18, which is about the rich man who really doesn't want to get rid of everything. And, well, it really goes to show that we always must be conscious of the things that we are serving other than Christ himself. And I also just found it beautiful and encouraging to see an environment here in Hong Kong, halfway across the world from my house, where the same message is being preached that I get to hear every Sunday. And I always find it to be the most incredible thing when I travel, whether I was in Estonia or St. Petersburg, Russia, or even in Israel or back home in Arizona, that Christ is the one thing that transcends all culture and totally unites us in a way that many governments, politicians, leaders, musicians have tried and failed to do. We're gonna go over to Hong Kong Island, but to get there we're gonna take the metro, which will take us under the water. It's gonna be an interesting experience. Might be crowded. So, buying a single-use ticket. Interesting little method here. You just touch wherever you want to go on the map. So I just click Central. It says, oh, that's $12.50. So then I say, yep, I'm an adult and I'm willing to pay that price. It's probably a good time to look at the Hong Kong currency. Very beautiful. There's not a lot of figures on them, we've noticed. A lot of buildings. A lot of banks have their major Asian headquarters here in Hong Kong, and that started even back in 1902 with Citibank, as they did remittances back and forth between Chinatown. And then you also have the Bank of America right behind me. You have HSBC, which is the largest bank. And then of course you have Bank of China and all the rest. This is the center of commerce, and you can almost smell the wealth, just like you can smell a lot of things here in Hong Kong. So in a city like this, which is the 4th densest in the world, how do you keep people in contact with nature? Of course, you build gardens like this, and it seems to be successful because people are gathering. It's an average Sunday and everyone is here taking in the fresh-ish air. It's a little humid for me, but this is life. We just stopped here at the Central Market. We're passing through Central on Hong Kong Island, and this is a bit more of a formal market as compared to the Filipinos that are gathering on the bridges right outside just to sell their wares on a Sunday afternoon. Something between the mall we saw yesterday, K11, and that. Nate seems to have found some kitties he wants to bring home. We stumbled across this smart book cabinet, and this is actually like a take a book, leave a book little situation. You put something old in, you can store a book or take a book. So let's see if I would even have to pay. Oh, yeah, you'd have to retrieve. But nonetheless, this is a fascinating idea. I'm sure the Hong Kong population is only getting smarter because of this invention. Nate and I are wandering around here. We're in Hong Kong. I almost slapped his face with the camera. See a lot of double-decker buses, all the quintessential Hong Kong stuff.
We kind of wandered into the Filipino and Thai districts today, which is really interesting. It's a new flavor. You got a ton of like massage parlors around here.
Yeah.
And the Filipino folks like to just like camp out on these bridges and these long lines with these cardboard boxes or mats under them, and they're either like selling stuff or like massaging people or like doing pedicures or just like sleeping and playing cards.
Off our trip here in Hong Kong, we're going to head up to Victoria Peak, which is right over all of Hong Kong Island. We can see Kowloon from there. And we're in this very bizarre waiting room. It seems to have lots of nature in it. And we should be able to get on this tram. This is going to be the best way to conclude our trip in Hong Kong.
This is a very strange sensation. All of the buildings, some of the tallest buildings in Hong Kong are sideways for me right now. And it feels like the whole world is inverted instead of me being sideways. We're up at a really pitched angle right now, but I tell you what, it is a cool experience. I am enjoying myself right now. Got this fog rolling in, slowly consuming the edge of the city, and you can still see the lights bleeding through. It's just a really unique look. It's kind of like Gotham City, but more bougie.
I've been to a lot of cities in the world and spent about 7-8 years since I've been to Asia, and this is the perfect reintroduction to a continent that sparked my love for travel. I may be talking crazy, but I think this next upcoming leg in Japan is going to change how I see this world. I told myself I'm gonna do Asia this time. I invited Nate, and we did it, and we're here, and boy, am I happy. Can't wait to get back into learning Chinese, taking a lot of courses right now at school on this part of the world. It's paying dividends to understand the history of Hong Kong, why it's significant. And I also get to partake in the unveiling of the future of this part of the world. Well, that wraps it up, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have been inspired to maybe journey around Asia sometime soon. And signing off from Victoria Peak.